Hello, my name is John Lord, and I will be your instructor for Accounting 111 211, our auditing course. The purpose of this video is to just give you an overview of the course so you can kind of understand how things are organized on e-learning. I'm going to go through the syllabus, talk about exam dates, course requirements, information about the textbook, and so forth. A little bit about my background. I'm going to go ahead and open up the course syllabus here, which you can see here on e-learning. So I'm going to go ahead and open that. And you can see the information on the course syllabus for summer 2025, our dates. This is an entirely online class. There are no um, planned synchronous class meetings. So you will watch the lectures as you go through each week. And then if you do have questions, of course, you can always reach out to me. I have the office hour link here for Zoom, which is going to be Thursdays from 10 to 11:30. And you can see my email and my phone number. You can see that I put in the syllabus. Best way to get a hold of me is through the phone. And I say that you can always email, you can always text at that number, but sometimes I feel these days we spend way too much time on email and text when we could always have a phone conversation. Just my personal preference. You can use any of those modes to get a hold of me. And then again, the office hour is via Zoom. You'll just click on that link there, and it'll take you to the office hour, and I'll be in there during those times. Sometimes I have that set up so that there's a waiting room function because I may have another student in there. If you do come into the office hour and you see that you're in the waiting room, a good idea would be to text me at this number to let me know that you're in the waiting room, and then I can give you a sense as to when I think the prior student will be done, and you can maybe try to log back into the office hour a little bit later, or we can set a separate time. I'm pretty flexible in terms of appointment time to meet with me. Okay. Just taking a look at a little bit about my background, which is somewhere here in the syllabus, not the biggest, most important information you need, but I thought we had the information about the instructor in here somewhere. Okay, here it is, instructor bio. And I've been with Golden Gate now in various capacities since about 2000. Just going through my background, I worked for the federal government for about 26 years, an office called the Government Accountability Office. GAO is the Auditing Investigative Arm of Congress. I was on a variety of financial statement audits, and you'll hear me talk about some of those in the lectures. And then I moved to program audits. You'll hear me talk about a few of those. The experience that I got with the GAO allowed me to get my license. I am a certified public accountant in the state of California, and I've been teaching now exclusively since about 2014. So I worked and taught the CPA exam, worked for GAO and taught the CPA exam for about the back end of the career for about 15 years with GAO. And then in 2014 decided, hey, I'm going to teach full time. So during the time I was with GAO, though, I did teach at Golden Gate in 2000 and left around 2009 and then came back probably about 2018. So I've been with Golden Gate, but I've also have taught with San Francisco State, San Jose State, UC Berkeley, retired from the state probably about after 10 years. I've retired from the state probably about 5 years ago. And I still teach, obviously, at Golden Gate, at Stanford University, and also at De Anza College in Cupertino. So I've got, 30 years of over 30 years of teaching experience, some of it simultaneously while being an auditor with the government and now exclusively at the various institutions that I've talked about. I also taught at, as I'm looking at my own bio here, I also taught at College of San Mateo, and I see I don't have Deanne's in here, but various universities and colleges basically would be the best way to state that over the last 30 years. And then again, teaching folks how to pass the CPA exam with Becker Professional Education. Been doing that in various capacities. I do that here at Golden Gate in our CPA Applied program, which I am the director of that program. So just a little bit about my background. So fair amount of practical and teaching experience. And again, I'll mention some of those in the lectures. You'll see that I've recorded. I mentioned some of those engagements that I was on with the GAO. Okay, giving you the contact information, course description. This is a little different than your typical accounting class. Usually in accounting, we're talking about the rules promulgated by Financial Accounting Standards Board, for example, and what do preparers of financial statements have to do to be in compliance with those standards. Well, now we're looking at it from the other end, the auditors of those financial statements. Management is responsible for preparing the statements. Auditor is responsible to look at those statements and determine if they indeed did follow whatever the applicable framework is. Usually, we consider United States GAAP, which is the Financial Accounting Standard Board standards, stuff that you study in 1A, 1B, 100A, 100B, and you can see the prerequisite there being 100B, because we want you to understand something about the building blocks of the financial statements before we start talking about how to audit those. Now, obviously, when you audit a set of financial statements, you have to follow a set of rules, and those rules are promulgated by both the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board and the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants. So we'll be getting in to the details of those requirements, of those procedures, chapter by chapter as we go along. Now, auditing is something that is a more of a practice. You get better at auditing, the more you practice, the more audits you do. Okay, so sometimes it's frustrating when you're first learning this because it's hard to fully understand the flavor of the rules until you've actually been involved in actually applying them. That's why in the lectures I use a lot of examples. I was on an engagement, we had to do this. I was on another engagement and we had to do that. So that's really the way I discuss the various materials covered in the various chapters. Okay, so that's really a synopsis of what you can see in the course description. If you want to read through that in more detail, you can. Okay. Now, I know that some of you have been, I really want to get the textbook. I want to get going. And I've sort of pushed back a little bit on that because there's a new edition of the textbook that I use, Auditing and Assurance Services, and a new edition is coming out June 1st, 2025. So I don't want you to acquire the book now because, yeah, it might have been helpful for the first midterm. And then there's going to be a whole new book, a whole new set of material. And in fact, McGraw-Hill will no longer support the old edition at that point in time. And so you'd be buying something that in a relatively short period here in a couple of weeks is no longer going to be useful to you. So I do not want you to acquire the textbook at this time. Do not try to acquire the textbook. You are wasting your money. Don't do that. Okay. Now, the textbook is optional. Okay. And after June 1st, I will provide information about the new edition of the textbook and instruction on how to review the textbook, decide if you want to actually acquire it. And if you do, then you can go ahead and give the McGraw-Hill your credit card information and whatnot and acquire the book at that time. Do not try to get the book now. What we're going to do in the coming up to the first midterm is we're going to practice using the lectures, practice using the chapter by chapter lecture, chapter by chapter slides, and then I'm going to show you here in e-learning in a couple seconds. I have a practice midterm document and lecture that will help you to get ready for that first midterm without using the textbook. Do not get the textbook or any textbook you see out there at this time because it's going to be, pretty much, I won't say dead on arrival, but within a couple of weeks, it's not going to be useful to you anymore. So I will fill this in more detail after June 1st, okay, or around June 1st. Okay. All right, good. I'll let you read through some of these other pieces of information. As I mentioned, contacting me by phone is the best. Okay. Grades. We have 4 assignments, 3 exams, 2 midterms, and a final. But frankly, the final is not comprehensive, so it's really like 3 midterms, even though I'm calling it the final. And then we have a guest speaker write-up, and I'm going to show you where that information is available for you on e-learning here in a couple seconds. Most of my students live up here. I usually am able to give pretty good grades. The tests are very straightforward. They are right out of the information that we have discussed in the lectures, okay? And most students do very well in this class. Where I have a problem is students miss exam dates, and that is going to be a deal breaker for you. Do not miss exam dates. I'm going to show you the exam dates here in the syllabus. I'm going to show you them again, how they're set up in e-learning. Do not miss the exam dates. Okay. All right, good. So let's look at some of the dates. And it's just nothing, very tricky here. Week 1, chapter 1, week 2, and so forth. Sometimes we have a couple of chapters in the week. The exam weeks are always in red. Okay, and so start to write down what the exam weeks are going to be, or print this syllabus page out so that you have those and put them in your notebook or wherever something you look at quite a bit. Put it on your calendar, your phone, whatever, so that you can see the dates of the exams. And as I said, the final is not comprehensive, so it'll just be the chapters from from after midterm 2 up to the last week of class, and that will be the chapters that are covered in the final exam. So it's really like a third midterm, each worth 100 points. Guest speaker write-up 100 points. Okay, so let me go back to e-learning. Okay, and take us back if it'll let me. Hopefully let me do it. Yeah, okay, good. Announcements. Yeah, you should check this from time to time. I'll have different announcements. For example, when the textbook becomes available, I'll probably put an announcement up letting you know that that's the case. We've been looking at the syllabus. This is where the guest speaker information is. There's a video, there's a set of slides, there's a rubric, and then there's a submission. It is due the last day of class. Watch that date. Don't forget to submit this thing. This is 100 points. So you need to submit it. You can submit it any time, but you must submit it by August 23rd, the last day of class. And I got to hold you to that because I need to go to grades. So the university wants the grades from me at a certain time, so I got to get the paper from you so I can get a chance to take a look at it, grade it, and then submit the overall grades for the class. This is where the midterms are. Okay, now I have a midterm preview there. That's a video. And I have practice file for the midterm questions. And you'll see that when you actually take the midterm, okay, midterm 1, you will see that the questions in this file are very, very similar to what you will see when you do the actual midterm right here in e-learning. It is a 3-hour exam, and the way the exams work, guys, they open on the Sunday of the week of the exam, and they close on the Saturday. Okay, so you pick the date that you want to take the exam. You could take it at 12 a.m. on Sunday, June 15th. I would not be waiting until the last minute on Saturday, June 21st. I leave it open for a full week, but be careful. The exam closes hard on you at 11:59 on June 21st. So if you started it at say 11 p.m. on June 21st, Saturday night, you'd only get 59 minutes to work it. So block off a 3-hour window. You can have all the material from this class, the slides, the lectures, the practice midterms. It's all open book, open note. We don't have a book yet for that first midterm, but open notes from the class. Have all that in front of you. work 20 multiple choice questions and one objective format type question. You'll see examples of those in the practice midterm lecture. That's how you prepare for this class. Now, sometimes I'll get students to say, well, I want to go and look at everything for all the midterms and whatnot ahead of time. That's not the structure of the class. Week to week, okay? And you can see that midterm two will work the same way. The final will work the same day. Note the dates, guys. Okay. There is no discussion. I'm gonna have to delete that. Please ignore that. I forgot to delete that. There's no discussion for this class. There's no discussion in this class. If you want to talk through some things, you're more than welcome to come to the office hour and talk through some of those things with me. Or if you want to, schedule another time, you can. Slides, lecture, chapter by chapter. Okay. Here, I provide information to help you determine if you are eligible to sit for the CPA exam. And the one caution I give there, there's a lot of misinformation out there, guys, about what the requirements are, and they seem to constantly be changing the requirements. Be very, very careful about what information you accept as the right answers to the requirements to sit for the CPA exam and get your license. I have provided a worksheet here. Let's see if I have it open. No, there's a worksheet here that will help you to figure that out. But I would encourage you that if you do want to sit for the CPA exam, you do want to get your license, you talk to me about that process. There's not a lot of folks that study this as much as I do. And so I think that you would be wise to sort of be very careful, have the filter on high about information you hear. And if you do want to get sort of the full picture, I would schedule a time to talk to me about that. But you can see the chapters week to week. Okay. And then of course, we have our midterms that cover, I think it's chapters 1 through 6 for that first midterm. Is that what we said on the syllabus? Um, Chapters 1 through 6, yeah, for that first midterm. Okay, so watch the lectures week to week, practice midterm, watch those lectures, then take the midterm when it is open. You can't even try to take it yet. This is not one of those online classes where you just blast through everything in 2 days and you're done with it. It's not that kind of class. This is not, history of shoestrings or whatever class. This is, something that you're going to have to absorb, watch the lectures, and understand the material that way. Sometimes watching the lectures can get a little bit confusing because, I might start chapter 4, for example, even though it's under chapter 3, because I was finishing up chapter 3 and then started talking about chapter 4 when I recorded the lecture. And then you have to come down to chapter 4 to see the completion of chapter 4 lecture. So you might have started it up here, chapter 4, part 1, and then down here, part 2 is, and so forth. So that's going to take a little bit of maneuvering on your part. It's not I just have the entire lecture under each chapter. Sometimes a piece of it is under the next chapter and so forth. The chapter 7 material, because sometimes I'll get questions on that. That I put towards the end when we start talking about reports. They put it up there in chapter 7 about reports on internal control. And I have waited till the end of the discussion to talk about reports, whether they be on the financial statements or the internal control. I put that towards the end of the class. Let me just click on how you will do the midterms, okay, the exams. So when you click, okay, you'll see the instructions that I've given you about the midterm, okay? And you can't open it now because it's not available, but once it's available, starting on Sunday, June 15th, then you'll be able to click in and you'll see the multiple choice questions and whatnot, and you'll work them right here in e-learning. Okay, that's the key things that I wanted to cover in this video. So I will look forward to possibly meeting you, person to person, face to face. Um, I haven't been on campus lately, but I am willing to come over to campus and sit down with folks if you think that would be helpful at some point. I'm willing to do that. I live in the East Bay in Hayward, and so it's not a big deal for me to come over on or off, one off to come to the city if you need to meet over there. Okay, okay. Good luck on the course, and look forward to working with you this term.